Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Jennifer's Perspective. And thank you all so much for joining us. And hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. Now it's summertime, the weather's beautiful, and I have Miss Lois McGuire here today as my guest from sunny Florida.
Yes.
From sunny Florida. And Lois has over 35 years of teaching and leadership experience in the field of education. She began her career as an elementary school teacher, and she has retired as the superintendent of schools of a highly acclaimed K through 12 school district in New Jersey. Now, is that from kindergarten to high school?
Kindergarten to high school, correct.
Kindergarten to high school in a district in New Jersey. Lois has a strong record of accomplishment in the areas of instructional supervision, curriculum development, direction, personal issues at all levels, and public relations, budgeting, facilities, and grant writing. She received many honors as an educator, including being awarded 7 Best Practices Award from the state of the New Jersey Department of Education, 9 awards of excellence from the New Jersey School Boards, and the New Jersey Coalition of Educational Leaders Award for outstanding service and leadership. She was selected to join Governor Thomas Kean at the Governor's Conference in Cincinnati to discuss the youth at risk. And she has been a consultant to the U.S. Department of Education and the New Jersey Department of Education on topics as parent involvement in the schools and career development for children, character education, positive communication skills, and strategic planning. Lois earned her doctorate in education from Rutgers University, and she was an adjuncted professor at Rutgers, Bloomfield College, and St. Peter's College, where she taught courses in the areas of education, psychology, and human relations. Now, Lois is also an author of 2 books, and it is Don't Be That Kid, and it is a series to help educators and parents, along with grandparents, guide their children through the maze of building essential positive character traits. And you can connect with her at www.don'tbethatkid.net, or you can email her at lois@don'tbethatkid.net, and you can connect with her on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. Oh my gosh, Miss McGuire. Oh my gosh, Lois, I'm telling you, you have had such a lucrative career. Like, oh my gosh, can you just, I think I just said everything, but basically, tell us a little bit about yourself and the book.
Well, I've been fortunate. I started my career as a 3rd and 4th grade teacher, and I loved it. But I knew relatively early on that I wanted to get into educational administration, and I worked my way up the ladder and ended up a superintendent of schools in a fabulous K-12 school district in northern New Jersey. And then I loved every aspect of it. But I always felt that we didn't spend enough time teaching values. Certainly academics is number 1 in a school district, but we should never forget the importance of teaching children core values. We have to teach them when they're young. Honesty, respect, responsibility, kindness, cooperation, learning how to share,
Mm-hmm.
learning how to respect others' space. All of these things we have to learn in childhood so we can become successful adults.
Mm-hmm.
It's more difficult as children get older to teach these skills. So I made it a point in my school district to infuse character building activities within the curriculum. When I
Mm-hmm.
retired, I made a decision that I was going to write children's character education books for educators, for parents, for grandparents. So in 2016, I wrote the first book, and let me show it to you.
Thank you.
It's called Don't Be That Kid at School. And because it's Don't Be That Kid, it's about a little goat. Whoops, where is he? There he is. A little goat.
Uh-huh.
Our little goat he's a good kid, but he misbehaves every single day at school. So a
Mm-hmm.
perfect scene would be the kids are on the playground and our kid, whoops, got to go this way. It's like the opposite, is not letting another kid play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
How does that kid feel? What is the responsibility of these other children to him? And
Mm-hmm.
why is our kid doing it? So every scene, they're fun scenes with a purpose. So every scene provides people the opportunity to have a dialogue with children
Mm-hmm.
about these different character values. Um, while writing that book, I wrote a 70-page softcover book for educators. Every scene of the book has activities separated into K1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when you're on the scene about kindness, you can go to the activity guide and find out fun activities to do with your children that will
Mm-hmm.
help teach them kindness. A year and a half ago, I wrote Don't Be That Kid at Home. So now our goat is misbehaving at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's a typical scene. He's playing a board game. He's not winning, and he throws the board game up in the air. Kids do those things. We have to teach our kids good sportsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
In both the books, in the Don't Be That Kid at School book, he wakes up in the morning and he looks in the mirror. In the home book, he's in a timeout and he looks in the mirror. In both books, he asks himself, who am I? What kind of a kid do I want to be? It helps children learn self-reflection. He asks himself these questions, and then the last 2 pages of both books are a collage of our kid doing the right things. So you get to go back into the book, find the scene where he's misbehaving, talk about what our kid needs to do to change to now behave properly. And if necessary, you can transition that to your child.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect way, in a very non-threatening way, to help children learn these skills. You know, I talked about good sportsmanship. A perfect example is if your child is playing in a team sport and you're not able to go to the game, when your child comes home, instead of saying, "Did you win?" which is very narrow in focus, why don't you ask your child, "Did you have fun?" You're going to learn if your child won or lost anyway by his or her answer.
Mm-hmm.
You're teaching your child that playing in a team sport is learning how to play with others, be a
Mm-hmm.
good team member, and you want to have fun. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just about winning and losing. We have to teach our children that. I think it's important.
Now, what prompted you to write this book?
Originally, I wanted to give teachers a very easy way to infuse core values every day in their classroom. But what ended up happening is parents and grandparents were buying the book, and I was selling a lot of them. And they asked me to write the Don't Be That Kid at Home. They said, we need a book that's not just about school, that's also typical things that children do at home. So we have a scene in that book where he's not sharing, and
Mm-hmm.
he's not sharing his things with friends. Well, we've learned that adults who have difficulty working in teams and who don't share information really never learned how to share their toys as kids. It's really no different. So those scenes help parents work with their children through our kid, through our little goat, to learn how to share. And there are ways that we can teach children how to share. Because basically they don't. That's mine. How many times do you hear, that's mine, that's mine? They don't want to give it. They just don't want to give it. But we can teach our children. We can say to our children, here's something that's important to me, and I want to share this with you. And
Mm-hmm.
you can spend time with it. And then I'm going to ask for it back at dinner time. And then you do. And then you ask if he'll share a special toy with you. And in the beginning, you give it back relatively quickly because he's nervous that he's never going to get it back. So after 5 minutes, you say, thanks a lot. I enjoyed playing with this toy. Here it is back. And then you say, remember, when you share something that you care about, you'll get it back. You start doing this a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
children start to feel secure to be able to share. It's work. Parents have to work. I mean, it's not easy.
Now, do you think that also helps them to build self-esteem and self-confidence?
Absolutely. And that has to be a goal that we have with our children. Now we can learn from failure. And when you lose a game, when you lose a board game, when things don't work your way, it's a perfect opportunity to say, I'm sorry that happened. Now let's talk about it. What could we do differently next time so that maybe you will be successful? I mean, maybe you won't, but maybe you will. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I love the self-reflection piece. Because if we say to ourselves every single day, whether we're adults or we're teaching our children, what worked really well today? And how can I expand on that? And what
Mm-hmm.
did and what do I have to do to change? That's how we build self-confidence as adults. And that's how we learn that we are the master of our destiny. No one
Mm-hmm.
else. We we make the decisions. We decide what we're going to do every day. When
Mm-hmm.
our kids wake up and you give them an opportunity when they're little to pick out what they're wearing, you're helping them learn how
Mm-hmm.
to choose wisely and how to build self-confidence. So yeah, sure. My books teach self-confidence. No question about it.
Now you have the three books is Don't Be That Kid on what? On the playground, at home, and in school.
No, I
No?
have two books. Don't Be
Mm.
That Kid at School is one of the hardcover books. With that is a resource guide for teachers. Excuse me, with activities separated K1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then my second hardcover book is Don't Be That Kid at Home.
Okay.
One resource guide.
Now, let's see. Now, how do you, when it comes to don't being that kid at school, when they have the tantrum tantrums and they don't want to share or they're feeling, say the kid is being left out or not included, what would you recommend the other kids that are bystanders that are just actually not, they're just looking and not saying anything? What
Yeah.
do you recommend? How do you recommend that kid or those group of children to include that kid in the sports activity or in whatever game that they may be playing?
Sure. It is very typical for children not to include others. It's not a great trait, but kids do that all the time. And it's really up to us as the parents, as the grandparents, as the educators to explain to them that that is just not fair.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone needs to be included. So how can
Mm-hmm.
we do it? Number one, we always have to establish very clear expectations with our children.
Mm-hmm.
Example, in school, you're going to the schoolyard after lunch today, or
Mm-hmm.
at phys ed, whatever, or after school. And here's the expectation. Everyone is going to be included. No one is going to be left out. And if someone in this group, in this class, tries to leave someone out, I expect the rest of the class to make sure that just doesn't happen. And you're there, you're monitoring. If your children are going on a play date when they're little, before they go on that play date, you just don't take them to the play date. You explain what's expected. It's all about expectations. Listen, let's face it. All any of us ever want to know is, what do you want from me? How can I be successful? So
Mm-hmm.
we have to spend a couple of minutes with our children to assure that they know how they can be successful. You're going, you're going to a birthday party. I'm having people over. Your aunt Jane is coming with with her children, and I know that you don't really like all of them the same. But my expectation is you are going to play with everyone. You explain it and you tell them exactly what you expect. And then you end it by saying, this is what I expect from you, and this is what you can expect from me. I'm going to be really proud of you
Mm-hmm.
when you share, when you include everyone. We have to be vigilant and make sure that that happens all the time. If not, kids will be excluded. But it's up to the adults to explain to children, even in high school, to explain to high school kids that is unacceptable behavior. You don't have to like everybody. But if you are outside and playing a sport, playing a game, that people have to be included. You can't let people standing by themselves. It's just not right.
Nice.
It's up to us. We have to do it.
And as we, as the adults, I guess we really do have to let the children understand that, you know, they are included, they are accepted. And I think this is where we teach our children not just tolerance, but you open up their minds and the way that they see people and the way that they interact with different races, ethnicities, nationalities, even genders.
Sure. Absolutely. That is not something we're born with. Being
Mm,
kind is some people are more easygoing than others. They were born with that. But being kind is a learned skill. Being nice to others. We have to teach our children. And adults are busy. There are very few one-parent working families today. So,
mm,
most families have both parents working or just one parent, and it's not easy to spend the time helping our children learn these skills. But I'll tell you, if you do it, if you spend the time, you will reap the reward. Because after a certain amount of time, you won't have to explain it every single time. There's a scene in the Don't Be That Kid at Home that someone has I think somebody has to mute themselves.
Oh, okie dokie.
I think someone has to be, that may be on. Uh,
Probably one of the viewers. Let's
yes,
take a look.
yeah, because
Mhm.
we're doing stuff. Thank you. Thank you very much. There's a scene in the book that wasn't originally in the book.
Mhm.
I went to the supermarket, and there was a mom with an adorable 3-year-old daughter walking next to her in the aisles, and she was taking food from the shelves and destroying the food, stepping on it.
Really?
And
Mhm.
of course, I wanted to go and say something, but I've learned, you need to, keep out of it. And ultimately, now the mom's on the phone talking to a girlfriend, and she's totally ignoring her daughter, her little 3-year-old, and the kid's having a great time. Ultimately, the store manager came and escorted them out of the store. So I have
Mhm.
seen in the Don't Be That Kid at School book where mom's on the phone, the kid is destroying property, and the manager ultimately escorts the mom and the child out. Now, what could have happened? What should have happened? Well, what
The
should
mom should have put the phone down and paid attention to her kid so that her kid doesn't vandalize or destroy the property.
absolutely. But even before then, you're going to the supermarket. You
Tell them
say to your child,
beforehand.
we're going. We're going to go to the supermarket because tell them why. Even if they're 2 years old, they understand. We're going because mom has to buy dinner. And when we get there, you'll have a choice. If they're little enough, I can either put you in the cart or you'll walk next to me. If you decide you want to walk next to me, this is what I expect, and use the word expect. I expect you're going to not touch anything, and this is what you can expect from me. I'm going to let you pick out your favorite cereal. I'm going to let you do this. I don't care what you're going to let them do. Give them something. If
Hmm.
your child is antsy, then you put your child in the cart and you say, we're going to go and you're going to be in the cart and have a toy. Have a toy for them to play with. Have
Hmm.
something for them to do. Do your shopping. And then you say, when we get home, this is what's going to happen. By doing it, your child is starting to feel very secure. I know why we're going food shopping. I know what you want from me. And I know what's going to happen when we get home. You're going to help me put the food away, and then we're going to play a game. We're going to go to the park. You're going to take a nap. I mean, I don't know. What's going to happen is irrelevant. It's the fact that you're telling the child, you're bringing your child into the experience rather than saying, come on, we're going, get in the car. They don't know why. They get to the supermarket. They're fascinated with all the stuff. And of course, they're going to misbehave. They have to. But that's not the child's fault. That's the adult's fault.
Well, I totally get it. I totally get it, and I totally understand. For the simple fact is that the kid is not the parent. The parent is the parent. And I think that as parents, it is our duty to tell our children beforehand what it is that they expect. Why? Because when I was younger, my parents would tell us before we listen, we're going to shop, right? And listen, we couldn't fall out in the supermarket. We could not misbehave. And my parents mentioned this to us before we get to the supermarket. And I'm saying to myself, okay, I get it and I understand. So, what do you think has happened, Miss Lois, that between with this generation now that that do you think the children are parenting themselves?
Well, no, I think there are some great parents out there. And I think that every parent wants to be a great parent. Your child is born and all you want is the best for your child. But here's what's happening, I think, today. I think that cell phones are attached to people's ears.
Really?
And so parents, because they're so busy all the time and they have so much on their plate, see
Hmm.
walking in a supermarket as an example, as a perfect opportunity to catch up with friends. So when you're catching up with friends, you're not paying attention to your child.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really have to have self-control as a parent and say, when I walk into that supermarket for that half hour, 40 minutes, I'm not going to talk on the phone. I'm going to actually talk to my child and say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, let's look at what's in the aisle. Oh, here's all the candy, here's this, here's that, whatever. Have a running conversation with your child. When your child gets in your car, what a perfect opportunity to talk to your child and have a conversation with your child instead of going and talking on the phone. People
Mm-hmm.
spend an inordinate amount of time socializing on their phones. It's amazing to me. It really is amazing to me. You need to be having conversation with your kids. Your child's in middle school. Now's
Mm-hmm.
the time to have that conversation and talk about the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you pick your child up from school, it's not enough to just ask, how was school today? Because all
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get is, good, okay, fine. Why don't we expand that conversation to, why don't you tell me one really interesting thing or one terrific thing that happened to you today in school?
Mm-hmm.
And likewise, why don't you tell me something that wasn't that terrific that happened today in school? And let's talk about it and let's see how we can change it, make it better tomorrow. And
Mm-hmm.
likewise, you share the same thing. You say, let me tell you about my day. Let me tell you what was great today and what
Mm-hmm.
wasn't so great today. That's called conversation. If you want your child to trust you and you want your child to open up and tell you things so that you can help your child, you've got to ask the question differently. And
Mm-hmm.
can't ask a question that has a single word answer. You have to ask a question that expands the answer, or you're just going to get one word because that's what kids are. Your kid comes home from high school. How was your day? Good, but what are you going to get? Don't let them leave. Expand it. Tell me one thing and do it every day. You're going to get to know your child.
I saw something today on LinkedIn. It was a post that, believe it or not, it just broke my heart because the kid, he took the bus to his own graduation. He had no support. He had to get his diploma and he's graduating. I don't know if it was from junior high school or high school. And I sat down and I looked at the post and I'm saying to myself, like, why, when did he stop? I'm looking and I'm saying, when did they stop communicating as parent? When did him and his parents stop communicating? Because now he's doing everything and it seems like he has no support, and I'm saying to myself, like, mm,
Well, we don't really know
his
how
situation.
he was there. I mean, maybe both his parents have very demanding jobs and they weren't able to get away. They could have
Mm,
lost their job if they took another day off. They could. I mean, we
yeah,
you
those
know,
things happen.
those things do happen, but you have to have the conversation. I love you, and we're going to go out to dinner tonight. So that's a possibility. I don't know what it is. And on the other hand, there are some kids who are very much alone, and that's when you need to have a mentor. And that's when another adult has to step in, whether it's a friend of the family, a guidance counselor, a school social worker, um, another adult to help you find someone who can mentor you. And, I love the concept of big brothers and big sisters.
Hmm.
That is that concept. And I think that If
I've partnered with Big Brothers and Big Sisters for years, but
yeah,
I think right now our young people need so much mentorship, especially those that are either what in junior high school and high school, and their parents are either too busy or they have a one parent home, and you don't want them to be that kid where they're left out of I guess certain social groups and mentorship. So I think that would be a really good thing for them to speak to their guidance counselors or get involved.
they trust. It could be their phys ed teacher. It could be their coach. It,
Hmm.
it, it has to be someone they trust and they've established a caring relationship with, so that they can confide. And then that adult can then figure out um, what he or she can do to help that child. It's
Hmm.
not easy. You know, remember, another thing that we want to help our children learn is making good choices, making
Hmm.
decisions. And if we as the adult haven't made the greatest decisions in our lives, it's not that
True.
easy to then help our children. That's the time you've got to get another person involved. Someone
Hmm.
you trust, someone who can help them. But if we can teach our children about making good decisions when they're very young,
Hmm.
easier when they're in middle school and high school to say, no, that's not something that I'm interested in. I don't want to do that. I can get in trouble to do that. I don't want to I don't want to take that drug. I don't want to do that. But
Hmm.
as a young child, as a middle schooler, as a high schooler, you have to have a lot of self-confidence to turn down peers who are pressuring you to do something. Let's go into Walmart and take some stuff.
Hmm.
We'll have some fun. And then we'll either use it, we'll resell it, we'll do something with it. You have to be able to, you have to be very strong to be able to say no. That's illegal. I can, I don't want to do it. One, because it's illegal. Two, I could get in trouble, and
Hmm.
it's not right. And I don't think you should do it. Instead, let's do this. Let's play basketball. Let's go to the park. I mean, that's hard for a
Find
child.
something positive.
Yeah, it's hard if you haven't been taught that when you were 2, 3, 4, 5. All in elementary school. You don't have the skill to do it by the time these tough decisions happen in middle school and high school. That's why I wrote Don't Be That Kid, because I want parents at a young age to teach these skills so that it's easy to say it. I had parents who were. They were hardly ever home. But let me tell you, I might not have had the quantity, but I had the quality.
Nice.
They were home, they were present. And
Hmm.
they taught my brother and they taught me values, skills. We were able to say, no, we're not doing that. I'm not going there. I could get in trouble if I go there.
Hmm.
I knew it and I could say it. And if you're not going to be my friend anymore because I don't want to participate, well, then that's okay too. But think about how strong you have to be as a kid to be able to make that decision. You have
Hmm.
to have parents really explain it and spend the time to do it. And that's where we're lacking in a lot of families today because parents are busy. They think that by driving their children to a different activity every day, that they're
Hmm.
good parents. Being a good parent is talking to your child, not spending money on different activities so that they're busy. It's you. You have to spend the time. It's really very simple, and it's very hard to do. I get it, but you have to do it.
And that is what I think children wants the most is when they're young, they want their parent.
Yes. Yes. They want to be able to feel safe to talk to you, that you're not going to yell at them. They want to be able to tell you, I did something.
Mm-hmm.
There are scenes in both my books about honesty, telling the truth. Kids don't like to tell the truth when they can get in trouble. It's normal. We don't like to tell the truth if we're going to get in trouble. It's a skill to tell the truth and then understand that there might be a consequence. There might not, because you told me the truth, especially when
Mm-hmm.
they're little. Thank you. I respect you for telling me the truth. Now let's talk about why you did it. Let's talk about how I can help you not do that again. Whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be that kid at school, or a kid is cheating on a test. And there are lots of conversations you can have with a child. What can he do so that he doesn't feel so threatened by this test that he has to peek at a paper? Maybe he needs to get extra help. Maybe he needs to study.
Mm-hmm.
And the little girl, the other little goat that he's peeking at her paper, she needs to prevent that. And she needs to talk to him and say, I know this math. I can help you learn this math. Let me spend some time with you at recess, and let me go over the problems with you.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways to learn to be honest, and
Mm-hmm.
and we have to help children know that if they break something in the house, they have to tell us that they broke it. They're sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It was an accident. They're not going to be punished. It was an accident. They didn't do it. If a child does something intentionally, that's very different than an accident. You don't have a consequence with an accident. You do with something
Mm-hmm.
intentional. You hit your sister. Well, there's a consequence for that. You bumped into her by mistake. There isn't, and you apologize, and you say I love you, and you don't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But these are skills that we can teach our children. That's what this is all about.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Lois, oh my gosh. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the information. Thank you so very much because I think if we just slow down a little bit and just take the time to just interact with our children, I think that is and you
That's
can't
the answer. It's actually the answer. And it's never too late. It's never too late to have the conversations, to talk, to tell them how you're feeling. I had a
Mhm.
day today, and this is how I feel. Use feeling words. I feel sad. I feel unhappy. I feel disappointed. Use feeling words with your children, because they'll learn those words from you, and then they'll be able to use those words, because it's really about emotions. It's really about values. It's really about feelings
Oh
at
my
at the
gosh.
end of the day.
And I think this is so good because now they'll also know how to express themselves. You're establishing a trust relationship
Mhm.
between the parent and the child, along with that gives them communicational skills as they grow and interact with each other, with their peers, and I guess throughout life, I think. And I
It is
think this is such a
important that we as adults don't overreact. If our children tell us something, we've got to get ourselves under control, because a lot of times our kids will say something to us and we want to say, oh my God, and don't do that, because we have to just listen and say, and the first thing we have to say is, thank you for telling me that. Now
mhm.
let's talk about it. There are certain little words we have to constantly use with our children. Thanks for telling me that. Now let's talk about it. And
Isn't
even
that
when
something? Because
look at
then
these screaming.
you're establishing trust.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Hey, whether it's with your parents, with your boyfriend or girlfriend, with your spouse, ultimately, it's all about respect. It's all about trust. It's all about choosing your words carefully. Remember, and everybody knows this, but we don't always follow it. You say something in anger, you can never ever take it back again. And once it's out, it's out. You have to learn self control as a child, as a teen, as an adult. I'm married 50 years. That didn't just happen.
What's the secret?
The secret is just what I said, respect. And it doesn't mean that my husband and I don't have disagreements, but we never say anything hurtful to each other.
Isn't that something?
And I have to tell you how that happened. When we were newlyweds in our 20s, we were having a disagreement. And I remember saying to him, you know, we're newlyweds. Let's always remember not to say anything that will be hurtful to each other. And we really never have. Doesn't mean that we don't fight the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We do. And we give our point of view. But we never get down and dirty. And that's the difference. Because once you get down and dirty, you can't take those words back. And we all know where the soft spot is with our spouse, with our children, with our friends.
You push that
go
button.
there. Don't go there.
They push that button. They push that button.
Don't do it. Now that's a skill, and you have to learn it. But again, I grew up in a home. My parents worked together every day. They were together a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of respect. And they brought that home with them. A lot of respect. And it's okay to disagree. Respectfully disagree. And it's okay to end the discussion not agreeing. You don't have to agree with everything. That's crazy. Somebody doesn't always have to win.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a tie.
Mm-hmm.
What's the matter with that? That's okay. You don't always have to win. You have to learn that in relationships.
I say we can agree to disagree. We can agree to disagree. Listen, why? Because I think everyone's entitled to their own point of view, I think.
Yes,
And I
of
think
course.
this is where the respect comes in at.
Yes. Yeah. It's not that easy because everybody wants to get their own way and everybody thinks they're right. Hey, listen, I'm right. But the reality is the other person thinks the same way. So you have to reach some sort of a mutual agreement, something satisfactory to the both of you. Whether your child and you were arguing about something, you have to reach a conclusion that is satisfactory to the two of you. And you may have to cool off a little bit. And that's okay to say. And so you verbalize it. You know what? We're not getting anywhere. Why don't we cool off and we'll come back to this at another time?
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with that? You say it. You don't walk away. You see, you can't just walk away. You have to tell the person, we're not reaching a conclusion here. So let's take a time out.
Well, I think that is fantastic because sometimes it's good to just I went through the same thing, I think, with my ex-husband at the end of the relationship. I just got tired like of arguing, like literally, like we would argue over the spoon or the pen, and I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, "Are you kidding me here?" Like, and I just couldn't. I think it's the bickering, and because then it becomes then the negativity, and then it becomes mean spirited, and I just couldn't deal with that. I was like, okay, then that was enough of that. And I sit down and I say to myself, now, How do if we teach our children these things from when they're young, as they become older, they would be able to communicate, get their point across without being rude, disrespectful, or you understand? Because people really do understand without it being even vulgar.
Yeah, of course. But think about how much easier it would be if we just took the time when they were little. So
Mm,
that by the time they're in middle school, by the time they're in high school, by the time they're, working or in college or wherever they are, they're young adults, they get it.
mm.
What we have to do. Anyway,
Now, here's my thing. When the book is for preschoolers and elementary
fifth grade.
schoolers,
Yes, up to fifth grade,
one
up
to
to 11 and
5.
12. So preschool to grade 5. Yes.
Mm-hmm,
And again, they're not books that you read every page and put on the shelf. Rather,
mm-hmm,
they're books, I want you to talk about the scenes. What is the kid doing? What's the spoke doing? How does he need to change? How can he change? Help him. Talk about, has this ever happened to you? You see what you're having a conversation, and what makes it easy is you're talking about a goat. So when you're talking about to young children up to 5th grade, it's not about them. You can transfer it to them later on. But in
mm-hmm.
the beginning, it's stressful for children because they're feeling this. I've been left out. I have been dishonest. I haven't always been kind. They're feeling it. So don't go directly to them. Talk about the goat, talk about the kid, and then you slowly transition it to the child. After a while, it becomes second nature to you. And I mean, it's perfectly fine to read the book and put it away, but that's not why I wrote it. I wrote it to have conversation with children about skills, about values, about cooperating, about sharing, about self-reflection. Who am I? What kind of a person do I really want to be? What kind of a person do I admire? How can I get to be like that person? We can do that.
Now, if someone wanted to pick up a copy of the book, where can they find a copy of your book?
Sure, it's very easy. Just go on my website. It's don'tbethatkid.net. No apostrophe in don't, just DONTBETHATKID.net. If you, by all means, look at the website. I write a blog, take a look at the blogs, and then click buy now. It will take you to either Amazon or Barnes and Noble, whichever
Mhm.
you prefer. Just click on either book. Don't Be That Kid at Home is the yellow one. The green one is Don't Be That Kid at School. They are $19.99. And
Mhm.
resource guide for educators is $10.99. That's paperback. I wrote hardcover books because they last. Paperback. And since adults use the resource guide, it could be paperback. But for kids, I wanted them to be hardcover. So either Amazon, if people are in Canada, they can go to Indigo. They sell the book depository in Europe. So
Mhm.
look all over the world. Great.
Oh
So
my gosh. Oh my gosh, Miss Lois. Thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
it was
you.
my pleasure. I'm glad we were able to do that. And if you ever want to do it again, just give me a ring.
Yes, ma'am. And as always, one love.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll connect again. And thank you everyone for joining us. You can also pick up a copy of my book, Business Planning Guide for Coaches and Entrepreneurs, and My Journey to Healing. And you can connect with me. I am also currently accepting appointments for the month of June for life coaching and one-on-one business coaching. You can connect with me at https // www.jennifergray.com And we will always say one love, peace, unity, and harmony. Thank you so much, Miss Lois, and have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful
This
day.
was great fun. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Honor and respect. Oh, yo, yo. And this.